Amazon S3 is nothing but a storage service from Amazon. So if you want to go to S3, you can click on services and you can choose S3 and you can go into Amazon storage services. So this is the screen of Amazon storage services, Amazon S3, in which the topmost container, the highest level container is called a bucket. So within a bucket, you can have files and folders stored. Now it is not just like a normal storage like Microsoft SkyDrive or Google G Drive or Dropbox. It is something like much beyond a normal storage server. So we are going to see what are all the facilities available in Amazon S3. Okay. So let me create a bucket by clicking on the create bucket. A bucket needs to follow certain naming conventions. The bucket name should not be in capital letters. You can create a bucket in capital letters, there is no problem. But it is better always to create bucket name with using small case letters. If I want to make it very simple, there are lots of rules for a DNS naming convention. How your domain name should be or how your email address should be. Okay? There are lots of rules in the naming convention of a domain name. Normally in a domain name, we won't be having the special characters, we won't be having the underscores, etc., etc. All those rules apply to a bucket name. And also, the bucket name is same, it should need to be universally unique. The bucket name should not be same as an existing bucket name. It has to be unique within a particular region. So if you select the region as US standard, so that is North Virginia, all the users, Amazon users of North Virginia will be using the same bucket space. That's why the bucket name needs to be common. See, for example, let me give a very common name, test BKT. Test BKT is a very common name. Let me try to create. It says that the requested bucket name is not available. The bucket namespace is shared by all users of the system. Please select a different name and try again. You got it, right? So let me try Sora BKT. Let this name may be unique. Let's see. Okay, it is unique. So it got created. Now let me double click on the bucket. It is currently saying the bucket is empty. Now let me just upload some objects into this bucket. And let me click on the upload button, then add files. Let me choose some files for uploading. Let me choose this file, this file. Let me choose this one. Let me choose this one, this one, this one. That's fine. Let me say start upload. Let me click on the button start upload. The files will be uploaded to your bucket. So far, the storage server has behaved just like any other storage server. Maybe Dropbox, maybe Microsoft SkyDrive. Correct? The real difference exists in the properties of the file and the properties of the bucket, where you can differentiate it with the other storage services available in the market. Now, as an account owner, if I double click on a file, I should be able to open it. Say I am an account owner, I am double clicking the file, I am able to open it, right? That's the image file. The image file is opening in front of me. Okay. Now I am just double clicking on a test file. I am able to open the text file too. Let me double click on a HTML file. I am able to open the HTML file too. It is giving this is an error page. Okay. So as an account owner, when you double click that file, you are able to open it. But for every file, if you get into the properties of a file, if you get into the properties of the file, are you able to see the properties screen on the right hand side? Okay. For every object there will be an URL. So this URL by default, it will be a private link. See, I have just took my mouse to that lock icon. It says that this is a private link. So by default, you will not be able to access. URL means that is mainly for the public access. It says that access is denied. So if you want to make the general public to use your file, then you have to convert it into a public file instead of keeping it as a private one. Now how to change it to public? Go for actions, make public, and say OK. Now if you check the properties, now the link has changed to a public link. Now if you click the link, it will open. Let me just paste it here in your Skype, and you just try it there. You should be able to open it. Just try in your system. Now I just pasted it in the Skype. I just pasted that link in the Skype. Can you open it? So that is, now it has become a public link. Anybody can open it. Okay. So if you want to make an object public, what you can do, you can just choose the objects which you want to make it as public. Simply select actions and go for make public. So if you make something as public, absolutely, either actions make public or right click make public. Either you can do a right click and make public or actions make public. Now what I did, I selected all objects and made them public. But once you make an object public, you cannot make it back to private. So if you want to make the object back to private, what you have to do is you have to delete it and you have to upload it anew. So whenever you delete it and upload it anew, by default any file newly uploaded will be a private one. So once you make it public, if you want to make it back to private, the only way you have is you have to delete it and make it private, by uploading it once again. Okay, so in the properties, the very first property is the URL, that is a link for accessing that particular object. The next property is details. In the details property, you have two. One is storage class and another one is server-side encryption. Now, in storage class, by default, any object you store, it will be replicated 40 times. Can you just believe it? 40 times it will be replicated. Means beyond our lifetime we will be able to get the object, but at a cost. So if it is standard, more replication. But if you want to reduce the cost, you can always go for reduced redundancy. In case of reduced redundancy, Amazon does not say how many times they replicate, But what they say is 99.9% you will get the file back. But there is a 0.1% always that the file may get overwritten. Okay, so if you want to lessen the cost, if you want to reduce the cost, then you can choose the reduced redundancy. Otherwise, if you bother more about the existence of the file, you can choose the standard. The second one is server-side encryption. Suppose if the file which you are going to copy is some classified information or some important information which you do not want the Amazon people to look into or peep into, okay, the contents of it. Then what you can do is you can choose an encryption algorithm. AES is one of the world's well-known encryption algorithm called automated encryption standard. So the automated encryption standard's 256-bit algorithm, an automated algorithm will be applied on each file. You choose to encrypt and it will be encrypted and stored. Since an automated algorithm is being used, not even Amazon employees will be using what was the key used to do the encryption. You as the account owner, when you double click that file, then only it will be decrypted and given back to you. So there is a security. In case if you want security to be applied during the file storage, you can choose the encryption. Got it? Okay. So that is the details. Next one is permissions. If you want the file to be made available to another Amazon account holder, any other Amazon account holder needs to access this file, you can just give the account number of that particular account holder so that they will be also able to access this file, provided that is a private file. If it is public, there is no need to give any permission, correct? Public means everybody can access it. If it is a private file and you want others to also access, then you can just tell whom should access this particular file. Got it? Okay. Now the next one is metadata. The last of the file permissions properties is the metadata. Metadata means super data, correct? No. Not machine language. See, for example, if there is a XML file, if you double click that XML file, what happens? Okay, sometimes it may be opened in a browser, sometimes it may be opened in an XML editor if you have an XML editor. How that is happening? Because with every file there is a super data. How that file should be treated in a particular environment. That is called the super data or metadata. Likewise, here the metadata is nothing but if you have an extension JPG, the file should be opened using a browser image viewer. So, with the help of the extension of a file, automatically Amazon chooses the metadata. See here, since the extension is JPG, here it has taken image JPEG. Now, the next is a text file. See the metadata, it will show that plain text. But if there is no extension, see the no metadata, I don't have any extension to this file, then Amazon cannot understand what that file is. It will just default with the first item in the metadata drop down. Now, we should, as a uploader, we must be knowing what is the inside, whether it's a text file, whether it's a graphics file, whatever it is. So let us assume that this is a text file, then we should say, okay, text plain. We should manually select the metadata. Suppose if you do not select the metadata and keep it like in the default, then see here I am double clicking on a HTML file. I am able to open an HTML file because the metadata is available. But if I double click on this no metadata, the computer does not know what to do. So it will simply download the file. See, the file is getting downloaded. It doesn't know how this file has to be opened because there is no metadata associated with it. Now I am just applying the metadata. It is a text file. and I'm saving the metadata. Now if I double click it, it will be opened like a text file. See, it has been opened as a text file, correct? So metadata is nothing but the super data which decides how this file should be treated. Understood? Okay. Now having seen the properties of an object called file, now let us go into the properties of the object called a bucket. Let me, instead of clicking on a file, let me click on the name of the bucket, Zora bucket. Okay. Now on the right hand side, I am able to see the properties of a bucket. The very first property is called permissions. Just like you've permitted a file to be seen by others, you can also permit an entire bucket to be seen by others by giving add permissions. So you can simply give the Amazon account number of other users whom you wish to see this particular bucket contents. But more than that, the important property with respect to permission is add bucket policy. Now what is a bucket policy? Suppose let us take an example. At your organization, you have a development team and you have a testing team. The development team is working, or they are in a network address 192.168.2. Series. The testing team is in a network IP address 192.168.7. Series. So unless and until told, you do not want the guys from the testing department to access your bucket, even if it is public. So is it possible to restrict the access to a bucket IP address wise? So what I request to you, okay, let me just show you a small bucket policy. Don't worry about the policy. You can always generate it using an editor. So we need not learn the scripting language of the policy editor. We can always generate it without learning the scripting. Amazon has a tool to generate the bucket policy, but before that, let me show you a sample bucket policy. Okay. Now this is a sample bucket policy. Here, just forget about all these IDs. Come down to effect. The first effect says it is deny, correct? The effect says denies. Whom should be denied? Everything in the AWS S3. Whenever somebody goes into AWS, whenever somebody gets into AWS S3 and tries to get an object from the bucket, the bucket name. And which objects? All objects are only text files. If you want only text files to be restricted, you can just give a wildcard accordingly. If you want all objects to be restricted, then you can simply put a star. So in the downside, I am just giving allow. When somebody try to get an object from S3, allow them from this bucket, Zora BKT. Now here I should give the IP address. Now what I request you is just to open a browser at your side and just type what is my IP and tell me the IP address you get. You will get an IP address on the screen if you provide what is my IP. Could you get it? What is my IP? That's what you type on the Google. What happened? Oh, even what's my IP is not working there. Ah, correct. Yeah, please tell me. Yes. Okay. Now what I am going to do, I am going to give your IP address in the allow section and my IP address in the deny section. Okay. I have pasted it in the bucket policy. I have given your IP address in the allow portion and my IP address in the deny portion. Get object means if you try to access an object from the S3 bucket, get object will be fired. So let me copy this script and paste it onto the bucket policy window and simply save it. Good. Now it is saved. Now you can use the earlier link. I sent you a link right earlier to access one of my object from the bucket. It displays the image of a turntable. You just try to click the link again, or if it is already opened, you can image. Are you able to see it? Not a problem. Yeah, tell me. அது வரும்போது சொல்றேம்மா. வா. Yeah. So it is working. The policy editor is saying for me it is denied. You can see my screen. It is saying access denied for me because I have given my IP address in the deny section. So once again I am saying showing you the script. Effect deny. Whenever you try to get an object from S3 bucket, Zora bucket, if this is the IP address, then deny access. If this is the IP address, then allow access. I have given allow access for your IP address and deny access for my IP address. So it is denying me and allowing you. So even IP level restrictions are possible. Absolutely. The script is written in a right. The script is called JSON, JSON script. Now if I double click on any of this object, they will not be opened for me because from my IP address, if anything goes, it will be restricted until I remove the bucket policy. If I remove the bucket policy, or if I interchange the IPs, and store, see for example I am interchanging the IPs, I am putting myself in the allow section and putting your IP in the deny section. Now you will be denied and I will be allowed. Now let me copy it and paste it in the policy, bucket policy. Save. Okay, I'm saving it. I saved it. Now, if you double click on your object, the same file link, you will not be able to open it. It will say access denied for you, whereas it is opening for me perfectly. So now for you it is denied, right? Okay. So it is denied for you and it is allowed for me. Does it say access denied? Okay. Very good. So the policy is working. Now let me get into the next property. The next property is static web hosting. Static web hosting means without we bothering to create a instance, without we bothering to install a web server, if you want to quickly convert your bucket into a static web hosting site, you can do it just by placing a starting page in your bucket. See, for example, if you just expand the static web hosting link, you will see an URL for your bucket. Just like a URL for a file, you will see an URL for the bucket also. Let me just paste the URL also for you in the Skype. I pasted it. Don't click it now. If you click it now, you will get 404 error. See, I am clicking it now. I get 404 error. Because that bucket link is so far not enabled to act as a web server. Now in the downside I have three options. One is do not enable web hosting. The next one is enable web hosting. And the third one is redirect all requests to other host names. So I am choosing